want rap no more, they want pop. The CIA, the ones who kill Pac. And they made crack, I might just get shot. And they made crack, I might just get shot. Fuck it, I'ma tell the truth like it's nothing. Add a little bass, but they double up the budget. Run it, I ain't hit my peak, no sun.
Welcome back to Unscripted Liberty. I'm your host, Brittany Cozen, and today we have a very special guest who embodies the spirit of liberty through music, writing, and advocacy. He's a proud Texas native and a country music singer, making waves with his return to live music and an upcoming album. The author of his debut book, the Tuck Crusade. Plus, he's a pretty passionate advocate for the Libertarian Party here. Please join me in welcoming Garrett Smith.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm glad. Right now, I get in waves. I had Florida for a while. Now I got some Texas. I'm working my way around down the South there.
There we go.
Before we dive in, let's give a big shout out to our sponsors, Libertarian Mutual Aid, the Libertarian Party Medical Freedom Caucus, and the Libertarian Party Radical Caucus. Their support keeps conversations like these going. So
those dudes have the best swag at conventions. I hate that word swag, but I mean their buttons and stuff are always
always. I have a whole bag full from National Convention this year from the Radical Caucus. I just need to find a bag and an excuse to wear them out in public.
Oh, I have them up on my office bulletin board, like with my work. It makes me look like a raging anarchist. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
I very much want to I have a bag I can put them on, and I'm pretty tempted to, and that's my going to Libertarian Party events. So kind of let's get started here, Garrett, give us your background. As I mentioned, you're a Texas native, and your roots clearly show in your music. Kind of what inspired you to take up country music, and how does being a native Texan kind of influence your music and its sound?
Yeah. Well, long story short, so I was a music nerd in high school. I was in marching band and all that kind of stuff. I loved the road trips. I loved performing, but the road trips infused with performing. And when I went to college, I didn't really do music much. I just had a keyboard that we would roast people with funny songs. And so I kind of went from there to after college. I was sitting by myself in my apartment one night, nothing going on. I'm like, I miss being with my friends. I miss being on the road, and I miss music. And around that time, I've always been a country music guy, mainly 90s Nashville and Texas red dirt. But I'm also real into rock and roll. So diehard Guns N' Roses fan, love stuff like that. And one night I was reading one of the autobiographies of a Guns N' Roses member, and I'm like, I need to learn how to play bass guitar. And so I did that. And so I'd read Slash's book, Duff McKagan's book, and Duff's really pushed me to buy a bass guitar and kind of start going. And from there, teamed up with a friend of mine. I was going to play bass. He was going to sing. We hired a couple of guitar players. None of them really worked out. And after about a year, 2 years, however long, I started getting kind of upset and mad, and I hated singing. I was not good at it. It was my phobia. But I got so tired of waiting on other people that I was like, screw y'all, I'm doing it myself. And so I kind of angrily went to a studio that had an opening special, and we ended up doing an entire album. I sounded horrible. So I ended up years later redoing the album, and it sounded moderately better. But from there, basically, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn to sing, actually learn to write better songs. And fast forward a few years, back to living in Central Texas, here in Temple, and found some guys. We put a band together and started actually putting my music on the road. And we played Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, did a thing in Nashville, and it was a lot of fun. So I kind of went on hiatus for the better part of a year. I thought it was going to be 2 years to 10 years, a long time, but that kind of came to a close, and I did some shows earlier this year, and we're slowly but hopefully getting the ball rolling going into this next year for some more live shows. It's just the economy the way it is. Live music is pretty tough to put out there right now.
Yeah. Now, so I definitely get where you're coming from with all of your stuff. So I was on the orchestra side in high school.
Nice.
So I played violin and cello. I taught myself a little bit of acoustic guitar, a little bit of piano, because again, I could read the music, so I could kind of figure out, and I usually use the piano to kind of hear what my music's supposed to sound like on the violin or the cello, because that's always in tune.
I learned backwards. I had to play by ear. I couldn't read it for the longest time.
Yeah,
I couldn't read bass guitar until the church locally wanted me to come play fill in for the main bass player. And they're like, yeah, we'll write everything out for you. I'm like, guess I've got 2 days to learn how to read music. And thankfully, once I kind of played along with it, it all came to me. But it's like, oh, this is different.
With cello, when I read cello music, it's not what note that is anymore. That's my third finger on the fourth string. Like, I know where they are. Also, so coming from a little bit way in the past, my husband and I actually had a hip hop record label, a little underground thing. Yeah.
I've gotten really into Cottonmouth King, so I've only recently discovered the whole underground hip hop thing as an adult.
Yeah, so that was a whole beast in itself. We did branch off and try to go into country a little with one artist, but that's a lot different.
It is.
And it was just not the right time when we did it. Country was not super popular at the time. So, but it was like, I definitely know from a different side everything you're going through.
Well,
and
back
dealing
then there
with.
were so many gatekeepers. Like with country, it's like if you're a country fan, you don't want any other kind of genre mixing, and if you're another genre, you're not sure how it sounds when country comes in. And my music was more rock with the country in it, and the producer, he made it a little softer than I wanted because he said this isn't going to fly. Well, fast forward maybe 2 years, and the stuff everyone's listening to is like Co-Wetzel and Austin Mead and like rock country. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, we should have rocked out harder.
I would say today's country is not country enough, in my opinion, in a lot of it. I like it. It's country rock, country hip hop, and country pop. There is no traditional country anymore. We don't have the Conway Twitties, the George Straits and the the foundations. They're not here anymore.
I went and saw Alan Jackson a couple of years ago. I'm like, this is better still than half the stuff that's out there now. Because I can't get into pop music or pop country. There's something about it's like nails on a chalkboard. But I listen to a lot of hip hop, and I don't know if Tyler Reed's still watching this thing or not, but he and my buddy Andy are always like, why do you do this? And I'm like, I don't listen to hip hop when I'm in the mood for country. I listen to it when I'm in the mood for rap. And I can't just listen to rap if I don't relate to it. And so it's really part of the influence to where my music has gone in the last couple of years has been like Moonshine Bandits, Colt Ford, the Lax, groups like that. And so the stage show we've tried to put on, which we were doing a few months, about January and February, we started doing this. We had like stage dancers, a little bit of it was DJ, that kind of a thing. And we kind of got that from seeing a Moonshine Bandits show and having watched a lot of the classic era Cottonmouth Kings shows on YouTube. It's like, you can really make a good spectacle out of it. And if you do it with kind of like a country spin, it can be really cool.
Yeah. I'll go and my husband and I, one of our first concerts we saw when we first, like as a date, like we were dating a couple months, was Jason Aldean.
Oh, okay.
We saw him, and then we actually got to see him again this year up in Wilkes-Barre. And that was great because he played a lot of his classics.
Good.
He didn't play he played his couple new ones that are with the hits and stuff like that. Like, Don't Try That Around, like the Don't Try That Around Here, like all the, like those, like the new ones, but he still hit the classics of like Big Green Tractor and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, that's great. Like, I loved it. I did everything. So kind of, I want to keep moving through here with stuff. So what do you ever find it like challenging, kind of because like you're libertarian leaning, in like with the music industry? Do you find that a little challenging with you with stuff with mainstream or politically polarizing things? Like how do you navigate through that, or do you kind of really separate it?
Typically I separate it, but the easy answer is you can't cancel somebody that hasn't made it yet. So if I make enough people mad, there's an audience. It's kind of funny, and I know we'll get into some of this in a little while, but you can pay for marketing, you can use the right hashtags, you can do all the analytics, And it's amazing what actually sticks, because I can promote a new album and work day and night on it, and the analytics aren't great. And then I can tweet how I'm not a fan of Angela McArdle, and suddenly my all-time analytics have shot up by like 10,000% overnight. I woke up and my phone notifications have blown up. I'm like, well, this never happens with a new album, but heaven forbid you challenge somebody that doesn't like being challenged, and you will blow up. So
I know the feeling.
It's one of those, I just don't like. For band members, I put in the job expectation, and even in the contract sometimes, that we just don't talk politics. It's caused problems in the past. It can always get in the way of a good cohesive unit. I don't care if my band I don't care if Donald Trump himself and Joe Biden are both in my band. As long as we're on stage on time and playing, which I don't think Joe could do. I think. Sorry,
as long as he has a handler to get him on stage, I think we're fine. It's getting him off stage is the problem.
Or having Hunter handle the after parties in the green room. But overall, though, like, as long as the only political song I even have is called "Different Breed," and it's the one song I do love, because it was conversations I was having with some people. Like, everything I do, for some reason, all at the same time was coming under attack. Whether it was libertarian politics were under attack, and people questioning why I was involved with it. And they were coming at me with arguments we've all heard a million times, and I get it, but it's like, they don't get it, what I'm actually trying to do. Or people telling you need to pick between rock and country. It's just weird if you can't pick a genre. How about I just make music? And heaven forbid people find out I'm a Texas A&M Aggie, and that will just bring in a whole new dynamic of haters. So I would tell you, it's like and shout out Tone the Bone in the comments. It's one of those things where, I'm a libertarian, but the genre is, it's funny. They market it as conservative in Texas, but behind the scenes, you'd be amazed how many of them vote left. Whereas like dirt rock and hip hop and all that Southeast kind of stuff, it's true backwoods. That people are like, oh, country rap might be weird. It's like, yeah, well, the guys who are doing it, you have to hike several miles onto their property, and if you're not invited, you're getting shot. Like, it's true Southern, and so it's very right wing, and that doesn't bother me. It's kind of like, I get where they're coming from, and on a lot of it, there's overlap with what I believe. So instead of me being like, well, let's have an argument, it's more like, cool. So what song do you want to play tonight? That kind of a thing. And I take it a lot. I go, I get along with pretty much anybody, like between work and LP and stuff like that. Like, I pretty much get along with just about anybody, because I'm fair. I'll hear you out. Like, I'll have a discussion with you. Yeah. I'm not gonna get it to the point of an argument. Like, no, like, if you start arguing with me, this is done. Like, well, then you're not a real libertarian.
Right. I'll have a discussion. There's a difference between an argument and a discussion.
Absolutely.
As long as you're willing, and I tell this to my son too, there's the same as there's a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody.
Yes.
If you're hearing them, your ears work. Great. Sound is coming in, and your brain is saying there's noise.
Yeah.
Listening is taking that noise and then processing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And taking it and doing something with it.
And people have forgotten how to do that. It's a lost art of social media.
A lot. They're already they hear you, and they're already preparing their rebuttal, and that's not a discussion. That's just an ambush. And I think that's where I get so many people on my side with things, and I can get people to understand my perspective on things, is because I'll listen to them and I'll be like, cool, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but look at it this way.
Yeah.
Or have you considered this? Like, and some of it, I will go a little far and I'll poke holes in their theories and their comments, and then they get mad at me. It's like, dude, I just poked holes in all of it. I just kind of found every flaw in all of your stuff and presented facts.
Yeah.
You can't argue the facts and the truth.
Speaking of, Tyler Reed was not still online when I shouted him out, but it looks like he is now. And Tyler, don't you dare be on your best behavior. This is no place for that. So, so I agree. It's a lost art for people to be able to have conversations. In fact, my friend Tyler, I was just messing with in the comments here. He'll tell you, I mean, there's group chats where it's like he and a couple of buddies and I will be on like all sorts of ends of the topic, but it's the key is there's always a Venn diagram of where you're all kind of on the same page, and just grown adults typically don't know how to find the middle ground.
No. So I know you had mentioned earlier that you have a new album coming.
Hopefully.
It's on the horizon here.
Yeah.
We'll go with that, on the horizon. What can we expect with this album? Are there any themes, any like songs with any personal stories or backgrounds? Anything you're excited for people to hear?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Over the past few years, I've tried to put out one album a year, and the reason there won't be this one this year is because of the book. And so the book kind of delayed the album. The album will be out next year, but I've already started recording a lot of it. And it's a lot of concepts that got kind of discarded on previous albums. Most artists will write like 100 songs and then they'll put 15 to 20 on an album and then they'll push those. I can't do that. For me, if a song's not worth recording, I don't even finish writing it. So I've had some absolute bombs in, my first album because I didn't know what I was doing yet. And I don't even want to play those songs live. It's just kind of like, man, I don't know about that. But the last two albums, I really like the songs on it. And so this next one's kind of like it's multiple genres. It'll give people whiplash, but I think it's the best quality content I will have on any album because my wife has been twisting my arm to record like a Marty Robbins ballad, kind of like a gunslinger thing. And my last album was just straight up rock and roll. Volume 4 was like, there were country themes, but it was not country music. And so I was like, there's no way I can fit this on there. Well, this Leftovers album, I put it on there. I have a song for my little girl that I wrote because, I was not a dad yet in the previous albums. And then when my daughter was about 2 days old, she's 2 years old now, but when she was 2 days old, I had to go to the grocery store and get some stuff while we were still at the hospital. And I just there's like a cross Canadian ragweed song I had in my head. And once I was getting it out of my head, the rhythm of that song was still in my head. And I think it was actually Ragweed's cover of a George Thorogood song. And that beat was kind of in my head. I started making a completely different tune out of it. And the song's called Shotgun. And it's basically the dad giving a future boyfriend the shotgun talk. And so it definitely violates the libertarian, the non-aggression principle by quite a bit.
I would beg that it might not, because he's starting it by not following your rules and not bringing her home on time.
There we go. It's respect and protection.
There's always a way you can spin it.
That's right. Let's see. Tyler in the comments says, tell about the love song you wrote about our bromance. Oh, it's a gorgeous ballad. No. That'll be on like a subscribers only platform. No, so there's going to be like a lot of Southern rock on it, but like I mentioned, kind of like the Gunslinger ballad, and that one's going to be half like a Gunslinger ballad, but also half like a Tejano ballad, and it's going to be about the Alamo, and it's a fictional story. It just happens to take place in the Alamo, and I have a guest artist from, I would say, south of the border, but might even be south of Mexico, who is probably going to sing the Spanish part. And so I don't want to drop names yet, so we've got it confirmed, but I've got that artist interested. And then I have a potential co-write with two other artists that we're working on pretty soon. And so everything is pretty much on there. I've got like a 1950s, 60s sounding like clicks and pops, telephone kind of vocal sounding like Hank Williams Sr. song to finish the album out with. And so there's a little bit of everything. And so I have about 30 unfinished songs too that are going to go on additional albums the following year, and those are going to be more like rock. And I'm not a rapper, but I may have a few like guest rappers on there just because they're really good. Scared to death to do that, but I also am to the point where I just don't care. So what people, I have critics, so they don't have to listen to it.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst can happen? They don't like it. I had some random hater from Idaho this week. Some college girl was like, "You're a grown man. If you were going to be playing the big stages, you'd have made it by now." And I'm like, "Okay," and that's 18 followers from Idaho. Like, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So
17 of them are potatoes.
News flash to everybody out there that thinks my goal is to like play AT&T Stadium or win a Grammy. That ain't it. I'm good with wherever it goes. And that kind of segues into ending the hiatus I went on. It was a really tough thing for me to stop for a while, because that was a physical health, mental health, be at home with family kind of a thing. There was just a lot going on at the same time. And some of our shows did not sound like they needed to, and I won't really get into the why, but there were some things happening while I was on stage at our last few shows that were just kind of making me think this isn't going to work, and we're kind of digressing. And that's not any specific person. I don't want a former member to hear that and be like, what the heck, man? But there were a couple times where it just wasn't where it needed to be, and it all started kind of crashing down on me, and I started getting like panic attacks, and it got to the point where I was like, I need to step away for a while, just for the best of my family. And so I meant, I hate when people, those people that say, I'm leaving social media, and then 2 days later, they're like back to posting about Kamala Harris or whatever. So I didn't want to be like that. Like I fully thought I was going to be at least somewhere from 2 to 10 years, or maybe wait till my daughter went to college. I was going to just stop. I was still going to record. I still put out the Party Outback music video just as an art, but performing was off the table. However, my 8 to 5 business got very slow at the end of last year, and going into January, I'm like, dude, we're going to be flat broke if I don't do something else. So I was like, well, I'm going to bite the bullet and just end the hiatus, in under less than a year. And so I did some comeback shows, and they were fun, but man, you talk about rotating personnel. We had some flaky people, and we did not do any 2 shows with the same lineup. And there was one show where I was the only one that showed up. And so financially that was great because I got to pocket everything, but I also had to fire some people. So it was, you could do like a mini documentary about some of the stuff that went on in just those January, February shows. But the thing I loved the most,
music.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. The amount of non-famous people who could have a behind the music, I could give you that could be a book in itself. But I'm not that much of a glutton for punishment. Mm-hmm. I would say the thing that made me the happiest about doing the comeback shows was I owed it to some people down in Port Aransas, because I do an annual event down there, Party in Port A, and during the 7th annual one, we played at a VFW cantina. It's like their VFW hall is connected to a big bar that they own, and the locals love it. And you get spring break people come in there, and it was tough for me because I had a viral throat infection that started 3 days before and only got worse. And so I'm like completely doped up on everything legal that there is, and was starting to research what's not legal. And so
get this going.
I left that morning to go down to the coast, and I couldn't speak a word. I couldn't even whisper to the clerk at the gas station. I mean, it was that bad. And I'm driving, and I'm thinking, I'm driving 4.5 hours to perform a 1-hour set, and I can't even speak. So it was such a risk. And I find out on the way down that one of our artists dropped out of the lineup right after another one had to bail. So I found out I was going to be doing an hour and a half of singing, and then it turned into like 2 hours of singing. And I mean, it was just a nightmare, but there was just enough humidity in that air that I could breathe in that I was able to really scratch through it. I don't know if you've ever heard of Giovanni and the Hired Guns, but I sounded like a scratchier version of him for a night, which was kind of cool. But when I say it felt like I had swallowed daggers, that was horrible pain in my neck that I was just like, I can't deal with this. And so thankfully our stage dancer jumped out there, and even some of the songs that weren't hers on the set list, she got out there, and Taylor Almanza, shout out, she saved the night because we had some audio issues. I had my throat issues. I thought we were going to be like run off that island. So I really owed it to them to come back. Well, they booked me to come back the next year, and came back, brought Savannah Ray came back and performed with us because we usually have multiple artists. And not only that, but a Beach Bums bar, shout out Gabe, they brought me there the next night. So we had 2 shows and nailed it. The YouTube video wasn't that great for the one we did at VFW, but voice was back, and I was very grateful they had me back. Not only that, but they started putting in a good word at other bars in town to bring us back for this year's. So we're working on that now.
Yeah, that's always fun when you start getting callback stuff and everything. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your book.
Okay.
First of all, congrats.
Thank you.
I keep getting told by my husband that I need to write a book, and I go, can I get my degrees first and have degrees on my wall? Because I have to finish my bachelor's that I've been working on 10 years.
Tyler, if you're still here, you'll vibe with that.
I'm slotted to finish in 2025.
There you go.
Finally. Almost just short of 10 years exactly to starting.
Were you at the same school for the whole thing, or did you have to like switch schools throughout the process?
I'm on school 3, 4,
There you go.
something
See,
like that.
they need a transfer portal for those of us that don't play sports, just to make degrees happen.
So I did a diploma program for my nursing.
Ah,
So I don't have a degree at all
gotcha.
for nursing. I was in high school, I was a dual enrolled student my senior year. So I was in the community college and going to high school for a completely different degree for fire science because I was a firefighter. Then I went and did the whole college thing for 2 years out at Millersville for meteorology and emergency management and environmental hazards minor. So I had the bachelor's degree major with a minor. So I was taking 16 to 18 credits a term and being a live-in firefighter and working.
So you were totally bored. No, it's better to find out what you don't want to do, though.
Bored.
Yeah.
Completely bored out of my mind.
Find out what you don't want to do during that time so you don't major in it and pigeonhole yourself. But, well, my major when I was done was actually, and the exact title was BA in Mass Communication / Journalism with an emphasis in Public Relations and Advertising, minor in Computer Graphics Design. And somebody, when I told them that, they go, "What are you going to do with that?" With that degree, I said, "Find the most big ass picture frame I can and put it in there."
Absolutely.
They just put Bachelor of Arts. They wouldn't even put the name of the degree on there.
Yeah. And then I switched and went back to the local community college for my prereqs for nursing. And went from at least I stayed in sciences.
Yeah.
At least I'm staying in the sciences. But then I did the diploma program, and that was a dual enrollment with Penn State.
Oh.
For a bachelor's.
There you go.
And then I started the RN to BSN bridge for my bachelor's. And then just I was going to do a forensics certificate minor type thing. And life happened, moved across the country, moved back across the country, like less than a year later.
Well, I could not be a nurse. Like, my wife's a nurse, and a friend of mine told me, and his wife had gone to the same nursing school that my wife did, because we all met at University of Mary Hardin Baylor, which we'll get to with the book here in a second. But he told me, he said, if you're engaged to a nurse, you will be just as stressed as them, just in a different way. I'm like, there's no possible way, dude. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can.
So I came from EMS. I was an EMT when I was 16. So I had a lot of knowledge coming into nursing, and I finished nursing school. My first nursing job, didn't even have my license in the mail yet. Ink wasn't dry. They had to look me up on the portal to confirm that I was a nurse. I was a corrections nurse, overnight corrections nurse at our local correctional facility.
Wow.
It is an RN and an LPN for the whole jail. Wow. So I did that. Then I moved across the country and did critical access emergency nursing. So that was entertaining because I was in the middle of nowhere, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Oh, so, I know where that is, actually.
Yeah, you know there is nothing.
Yeah. It wasn't Star Wars when it says nobody's from nowhere. She's like, I'm from Jakku. Yeah, that's pretty much nowhere.
Yeah. TRC, that is nowhere. Elephant Butte, nowhere. Then I moved back and I did a little bit of ortho trauma nursing, for a month or two. And then I went back to emergency. I'm like, I need to be in the ER. I need to treat them and street them.
Yeah.
I can't do that. But then with all that moving, I was never able to sit down and commit time to finish my bachelor's.
Yeah.
And right now I've been like, oh, wait, I did sign this whole contract and agreement thing with my current employer that I've been with for 7 years. That says after year 5, I'll have my bachelor's. I can maybe use the excuse of COVID for another year.
Well, if it makes you feel better, you asked about the book a second ago. It took me 14 years to finish the book about my 4-year college experience. So in my own way, I kind of prolonged everything. But that was
it took 3 years per year of college, and then 2 years to edit it.
Yeah,
just go with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but if it's like the book, if it's worth doing, you put the time into it.
I finally found a school that I like and stuff. Oh, there's my lovely TRC.
Oh, awesome.
Yep, there's my lovely TRC there. So, so back to the we kind of swung back to the book and stuff like that. So it seems to be like a pretty even mix of like comedic tellings and sad, and it's also kind of a little contentious with some of it. But have you faced any like pushback after release, like for putting this out there?
Knock on wood, not yet. However, when a book is like longer than the entire Lord of the Rings collection, you know, it's gonna, anyone that might give me blowback is probably only a third of the way into it. So I think that's been one of my biggest surprises. There were some people who were supposed to be guest contributors and other people that knew I was going to put it out. And I had a lot of real names are in there because I've changed a lot of names to avoid trouble. I was very careful. I proofread that thing a million times. But what surprised me is there are people that know they're in it who haven't read it. And I'm thinking, dude, if someone wrote us a story about that era and I knew my name was dropped, I'd be binging that thing overnight. So
I'd be like, where am I?
Yeah. So there's not been any blowback. There was one person who has blocked me on social media. I found that out by accident. But other than that, I haven't seen any negative reactions.
If you don't have any haters in the world, you're not doing something right.
That's kind of
I have plenty, and I gauge my success on how many I have.
You kind of have to sometimes, but yeah, it's the book was contentious. There were some things that it's part of the reason I wrote it was even though there was a part of me that's scared to death of putting it out there because I didn't want blowback, but because I promised myself years ago that I would do it, I thought, okay. If 21-year-old Garrett Smith was sitting right here with, we won't say how old I am, but if he was sitting right here and asked, hey, did you ever put
21-year-old Garrett?
Yeah, if he asked me, did you ever put my story out? Did you ever tell the truth about what happened, you know, to me in certain circumstances and why I did certain things or clear the air? And if I had to look at my old self and say, no, I got busy, like I would hate that. So I was like, I owe it to my younger self to get this story out there. And the people who are in it, we've all grown up. I mean, our humor is still 12 years old, but you know, it's like we've got families now. I thought I need to show that we grew up too, and so it was a really good highlight of. Sure, we pranked the president's house or whatever, you know, one time in college, but you know, it's sure we started a war between two schools, but you know, we're older now. We're past that, so.
That's old. That's old news.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spoil the book for anybody.
Right.
But it seems that I have here that there is mention of these infamous Friar Tuck brothers and something about Whitewater Gate and Operation Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
These have me intrigued, but I don't want to ruin the book yet.
No, I won't completely spoil it. I'll just kind of give a preview. But yeah, so shout out to Nathan, Andy, Tyler, Kane, Seth, all you guys, Brett, Patty. There's a lot of dudes in that book who were kind of at the center of everything. And it was kind of, the way I would describe this book was like Baptist Animal House. I mean, it was like if we had gone to Penn State or somewhere like that, we would have been an after. Nobody would have even blinked an eye at some stuff we did. But because we were at a small Baptist school where everyone knew each other and the rules were a little behind the times and everything was strict, people's eyebrows were raised into space. And I mean, admin's blood pressure was higher than Elon Musk's rockets. Let's put it that way. So we got into a lot of trouble, but it was never anything that bad. There was some bad stuff we did, but we didn't get in trouble. Knock on wood, the book may turn us in, but I think the statute of limitations is passed. So Whitewater Gate was virtually, there was a football team, Wisconsin Whitewater, who had UMHB's number. We could never beat them. They had ruined parent weekend. They ruined basically playoffs every year, whatever. Well, my junior year, when I was kind of in charge of our sports fans in an organization called the Couch Crew, I was sick and tired of A, always losing to this team, and B, and this is kind of where the slow fade of me becoming a libertarian started, was the amount of regulations that they were putting on adult students at sporting events. It completely drove out our wildest fans. So we get to almost the biggest game of the year, and there's like 2 rows of people left in the stands, and it used to be like 500 at a school of 2,700. that didn't set right with me. And so I told my roommate one night, I said, dude, let's do something about this. Both problems. Long story short, we came up with like an Ocean's 11 style plan to find out where the hotel was that the other team was staying. And we had a very elaborate scheme you can read about in the book about how we were going to wake them up in intervals without getting caught. And it got leaked out what we were going to do. And we were like, oh, crud, we are really going to get screwed over. So I told everybody that operation's off. It was just a joke, whatever, spread that around campus. And so thankfully the counter rumor was, oh, he was just kidding. Well, the night before that game, about 5 or 6 of us were like, screw it, let's go for it. So without the 13 people, without all that, we go down there with like 5 people in a car and basically found the hallway they were staying at and woke them up with air horns. And while that's going on, those of us in the getaway car were confronted with the fact that a gang fight broke out in the parking lot. And so we're ducked down, hiding from the real fight while we have to pull out and save the guys from the hotel. And it just...
Before it becomes another fight.
Yeah. So we woke up the Whitewater football team at 4 a.m. and yeah, that was something. Then the other one you mentioned, I think was Devil's Advocate.
Operation Devil's Advocate, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I will say that Wisconsin Whitewater and UMHB still don't like each other, but we kind of handed Whitewater that L this year that kept them out of the playoffs. So better late than never. But we, and the third division can tweet the screenshot of this if he wants. But we ended up doing something called Operation Devil's Advocate. It was kind of the same kind of tone of the things we did, where there was a rumor that the schools were looking to get rid of our biggest rivalry. It was Hardin-Simmons and Mary Hardin-Baylor. They were both bailed out during the Depression by the Hardin family. And so there's always been a connection. And then ever since they both had football, it's just been a brutal rivalry. You would not know it was Baptist colleges. So some of the most profane football games I've ever been to were between those two. And usually the profanity was more towards their side for the record, or on their side towards us for the record. But we were like, no, that rivalry needs to happen. If you're Division III college, you need whatever it takes to market your games. Otherwise, you're not going to have many people going from the public. So we came up with a plan to more or less prank the crap out of our own campus as alumni. And we did it in such a way that we didn't get caught and we had an alibi. And at about 2 a.m, after completely just, I won't say vandalizing, nothing was permanently damaged, but we did some work on that campus. And at about 2 a.m, 3 a.m, we're at Whataburger, and a truck pulls up, and this guy rolls down his window. He's like, y'all going to Salado tonight? Now, you were talking about small towns earlier. Think of, it's not even called the town of Salado. It's called the village of Salado. They've got one main street and then a bunch of retired people in fancy houses, and it's small town. And we're like, why would anyone drive 20 minutes to that town in the middle of the night? He goes, we found where the other team's staying. We're going to go get them back. And so we were like, no, you be safe. Have a good night. Well, let me tell you, the next day, the hostility between those fan bases was full scale, and it has not gone away since that day. And that was in 2010. So in fact, this past year, they play each other twice in the regular season now, and Hardin-Simmons beat us in both. And then we got sent up there. We got a pity vote to allow us into the playoffs, won the first round, got sent to their place, and knocked them out of the playoffs. So there's just, the hostility has not gone away.
So it sounds like it's like a sibling rivalry between the two, kind of.
That's a good way of putting it. Because
you said there's a connection between them, so it sounds like the sibling rivalry of like your mom's favorite, but your dad's favorite, like
kind of. It's I would relate it to like Noel and Liam Gallagher from Oasis. Like, yeah, they're technically brothers, but absolutely hate each other. So. Yeah. But, and fun fact, UMHB is Mary Hardin-Baylor. It was started in Independence, Texas, males and females. It's the oldest school in Texas, but the Baptists didn't want the males and the females mingling, so they sent the men to Waco, and it became Baylor University, and they sent the girls to Belton, and it became Mary Hardin-Baylor. So one of them got famous, and the other one won a national championship in football.
So, It seems like there's also at the end, like I had said, there's like some more heartstring type stories. And at the end, there's one story that you kind of mentioned, and how it kind of managed to reunite like the Friar Tuck family idea.
Yeah.
Now, Do you foresee your group having a reunion anytime soon, or do you guys still keep in contact with each other, like the core?
We do, and my that comment's great, by the way. That's accurate. The group's in contact, and the story that's told in the book conducts about it's like we were all close as siblings, not like sibling rival, like we were like family, and that's why we call it the family instead of the friend group. But it's like, imagine any sitcom where you have the main 4 or 5 characters that are in that one apartment all the time, but put 20 of them in an apartment, and it's like, what could go wrong, And I like to relate it to, think of any rock band you've ever heard of, or any movie you've seen that's like a music biopic. Whenever like the rise to stardom happens and then it explodes, and suddenly you have all the drama and the bad habits and all the stuff that kind of breaks everyone up. So there were a series of things that kind of split everyone up, and I, not to toot my own horn, but you'll see in the book that I was basically the ringleader of that group, and I got to the point where I was like, these people ain't ever going to speak to each other again, because there was nothing ever directly hostile among them directly, but they would all come to me with what they thought of the other people. And I'm like, I can't do this. This is like wearing down on me, because I can't have people I love talking about each other this way. And so I kind of said, screw it, we're not doing this anymore. And I proposed, after some time had passed, maybe we have like a 10th anniversary reunion. And so we did have that. Not everyone was able to go, but it was to me, I thought it was a pretty healing process. And there's another football rivalry story from those same 2 that goes into that weekend that we didn't anticipate being the big story, but it was. Mm-hmm. And it was just great. But at the time, my wife was diagnosed with some serious health issues, and the group didn't know it yet. One of the other people in the group, they found out they were about to have a baby, and not everyone knew it yet. So there was a lot going on in people's lives that we all just, it was the right time, and it was great. We kind of stayed in contact. But you mentioned a heartbreaking story, and it was there was a tragic loss in one of the families, and it just blindsided all of us, and it kind of shook me, because I had to be the one to call everyone and tell them. And when that happened, there was no planning of any kind of reunion or anything, but without hesitation, we all had plans to meet up and be there. And that was really more of a reunion than anything else. And that kind of got us back in contact more than anything. And we, lo and behold, here we are. One of the people in the group, shout out Amanda, texted all of us in like a 15-person group thread, said we need to get a reunion together this summer. And we were all on board. It's just the logistics weren't there. And so, I pitched the idea not long ago. So let's just have a virtual Christmas party with all these people, 15 people on a Zoom call or whatever. And it blew up into a hilarious text message. This was all like this week, by the way. My wife gets to work and she texted me. She's like, why are there 32 text messages on my phone? I've only been gone half an hour. And lo and behold, my buddy Andy texted me. He goes, hey, that's my wife's old phone number. That's not the current one. We don't have a clue whose phone blew up with all of this group's stuff and just ridiculous. So my buddy Tyler was like, man, I hope they show up to the reunion. It'd be great. So whoever you are, a random phone number, you're welcome to join us, but behave yourself.
It's like the granny or whatever, the woman who texted the wrong number and like invited someone for Thanksgiving or whatever, and it was a random number. And now we're on like year 9 of him coming to Thanksgiving with her.
The bachelor party where that guy responded to the email and he's like, I'm in, and they end up getting all the sponsorships for it. Everyone's on good terms. And honestly, I think, so the book was actually done more than a year ago, because it was my goal and promise to myself and others. It's like, I had to tell my friends, I'm not going to yap y'all's ears off about this for another year. I can't do that to y'all. And I owed it to myself to just get it done, get it out there. Plus, I was like, I wouldn't mind making some money off of it. So I finally got it done right before the stroke of midnight at New Year's this past year. But I was like, man, this looks like 800 pages and there's still something missing. I don't know what it is. And I thought, well, when I read The Dirt, about Motley Crue, the thing that really solidified that biography is that all 4 of the guys were interviewed separately and they put all the input into the book. So I reached out to the brothers first and I said, how would you guys like to be guest contributors? And most all of them were like, yeah, let's do it. And then as it went on, I thought, I'm going to invite the wives too. This is going to get real juicy. And so we did that. And I reached out to some other people who were like observers. There was one guy that thought we were just idiots, and it was cool to get like the opposing side in the book. So to me, that's what made it so special for me, was getting to get back in contact. Well, I mean, I was already in contact, but like getting to talk more with them. And I think part of that is why there's going to be a reunion for all. It's just we started reminiscing on some stuff together, and it got pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's always fun. I was actually just talking to my husband tonight when we're making dinner that like I haven't had a high school reunion. Like I'm 15 years. Well, next year I'll be 16 years out of high school, and I haven't got my phone number just changed this year. I have had the same phone number since 7th grade.
Nice.
And I finally changed it. I live across the street from my parents, who have lived there since I was like 4. So there's no way that no one could contact me.
Yeah.
And I even see like on Facebook and on like the websites and stuff, like there's no one scheduling. I'm like, who dropped off the face of the planet that like our student council president didn't do anything? And I'm like,
well, Facebook ruined reunions in a sense, because it's like people already know what each other are up to. And our class, we had one. It was kind of weird.
It's still fun to get together and spend the night together, because there's stuff you're not going to put on social media because you want to say it in person, because then there's no proof.
Well, there's a story about that in the book too. Like there's a tradition at UMHB called Stunt Night, which it sounds a lot cooler than it is, but it's still a lot of fun. Some of us, we thought it was like Johnny Knoxville style stuff they were doing. It was really just each class would put on a play production, 20-minute play, or choreographed dance, scripts, songs, all that kind of stuff. And you were given a theme to work with. Your class had 2 nominated directors, and they would direct the play. So there's a very contentious story that takes place my junior year of college in the book. And the halfway point of the book is when stuff blows up and becomes, it goes from funny and positive to really contentious and negative. And a lot of it circled around our class. I was president of our class, but I'll be the first to tell you I was not the leader of it. There was a group of girls that we called the Katies. And in real life, some of them were named Katie. Like half of them were named Katie. And I was like, well, they just have to be the Katies in the book. And so I assigned like fictional last names to them. And at the end of the day, like I liked all of them, but we just had a really contentious year. And it really blew up before this play production. And that production is what really brought us together. And for about 2 years in a row, when people would bicker and fight and all that, that tradition is what really got us close again. And it made us all get along great. And, so shout out to the Katies. They were the heart and soul of our class. And we had a reunion, and there was a rumor that we were going to go back to Stunt Night and put on like a alumni performance. Zero truth to it at all. Well, I called my buddy Jeff Payne, and now shout out Jeff. I was like, hey man, what if we just like took the rumor and rolled with it? Can we make this happen? This was 5 years after. This is like 2015. And one of the people we graduated with was actually working in student life at the school. And shout out to her. She got everything together for us, got it approved. We called the person who had actually choreographed dances for all 4 years for us, and she agreed to travel back. So we got all the people on board. The problem was we had 20 minutes to get it together. We hadn't been in the same room together in 5 years, and we had 20 minutes to make it happen. So we did it. And what's funny is there was a video that got out there, and I thought something got messed up, or I was out of step. I looked, only 2 of us were in step, and everyone else went the wrong way. So we're like bumping into each other on stage. But it was just cool that you can have those kind of reunions and things pick up right where they left off, and everything was positive. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I said, I have some friends and stuff like that I haven't really like talked to since high school, yet I can see them tomorrow and you would never know that we haven't seen each other in years.
Same.
So I want to kind of do another little pivot here, and kind of talk a little bit more on the political side of stuff.
Let's make some people mad.
We're talking about the Libertarian Party. We're going to piss someone off somewhere. That's either red or blue, because we're just a vote stealer.
Hey, no one hates libertarians more than libertarians.
Yes. I see that every day.
Yes.
Go on social media.
It's rough.
And see where we're at. So you're pretty vocal about your support for the Libertarian Party, as am I. What drew you to the Libertarian Party and our principles, and kind of how are they influencing you in your personal and even your professional life?
It was a long, slow fade. I was kind of like in the libertarian closet for a while. I always wanted to work in politics. I thought I was going to be the next Ronald Reagan, coming out of college. Like, no, idiot, you're not going to be. And so I worked for a very fierce, at times angry, former military Republican candidate, but he was the Liberty candidate in that field. But it was 12 Republicans running for one nomination. If you think Republican versus Democrats bad, 12 Republicans trying to out-Republican each other while Obama was president. Oh my gosh. And so there were things I noticed throughout that campaign that made me just kind of start questioning how I'd always viewed things or how I'd always been taught to view them. And I was at some event where I was supposed to talk about, I think it was like marriage equality or something. And I was, my job, my candidate and I were supposed to go up there, and we had to basically speak on like traditional marriage and support it. And that night, right after we got done, I'm thinking, well, dude, what if somebody banned straight marriage? Like, my view would be, I don't need the government telling me who I can and can't marry. I've never been that guy who's going to have like a rainbow profile picture or anything like that. But like, I'm definitely like, okay, marry whomever, however many, and whatever you want. Like, somebody told me, what if someone wants to marry a horse? I said, cool, let everyone know who the village weirdo is and let them have at it. So to me, when nowadays if people ask me my stance on like trans rights and all that, my answer is we are trillions of dollars in debt. And so when you look at financial numbers of the fiscally responsible party and realize, wow, it was worse under, the debt was worse under Trump than his predecessor. And I didn't think anyone would get worse than his predecessor. And no one thought that anything would get worse than his predecessor. It's like, wow, okay, there's some problems here. And so over time, you start to get disillusioned with your views. And, it's just that if people, I like to do something where I say, give yourself political amnesia. On the last podcast I was on, I accidentally said amnesty, but amnesia. So forget everything you've ever thought, pretend someone hit you in the head or you fell out of a coconut tree, and go look at everything going on and trace it back to what caused it and who caused it. And you can go as far back as Woodrow Wilson if you want and realize, okay, we should have learned from him. We should have learned from Nixon, and we're not learning anything. So for me, it was just kind of like, okay, the corruption I saw where people behind closed doors in the Republican Party were nothing like the speeches they gave. They were a lot more like the left, who I thought was operating crooked. What really got me feeling uncomfortable was the 2012, the state Republican convention in Fort Worth, where they barricaded off certain corridors and had Ron Paul supporters enter through the side, go into his speech, and then they like escorted all of his people out so they wouldn't go vote in the straw poll. And I'm like, that is some bass-ackwards stuff right there. And so that really got me thinking. I worked one more campaign, and after that, I was like, I'm done rocking campaigns. It left a bad taste in my mouth. Well, fast forward to about 2015 primaries and all that, and like Rand Paul was my go-to. I was like, okay, cool. Rand Paul's the only one here I would trust, and Gary Johnson as well. But they pushed Gary out, he had been pushed out in 2012, and I regretted not voting for him. I was so scared of Obama, and I had told so many people to vote Romney on these campaign trails that I didn't want to be a hypocrite. And I didn't want Obama in there. So I voted Romney, but I did not feel good about it. And, in hindsight, there's the Venn diagram between Romney and Obama is pretty much hugging. But I was like, I should have voted Johnson. And so when Rand Paul quit after Iowa, first I wanted to, bop him upside the head and go, what's wrong with you? But second, I was like, I got no one to vote for, because I would not vote for anyone left in this field. And so Gary Johnson had my support, and through voting I'd already been like small L libertarian, as much as I hate that term, for a while. But that was the turning point where I was like, I'm actually going to join that party and get involved with it. And when my wife and I moved to Central Texas, I'm like, okay, this is a way for me to get involved with the local party. Well, we live right next to what was known as Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos, largest military base in America. Yeah, it'll always be Fort Hood around here. But I thought about it. I was like, okay, why don't we have a libertarian party that's active here. Apparently, all their former leaders were active military, and they all got deployed at the same time. So they basically deployed the local Libertarian Party out. And so I had to work with a couple people. We got it going again. And the guy who was supposed to be chair moved. He had some health issues, had to hightail it out of here. And I had told the party, I said, I'll do it, but only if no one else will. I didn't get that kind of time. Well, lo and behold, for about 2.5 years, 3 years, I was chairman. So it was an uphill battle, but we had a few highlights. And right before I left, I finally got us into the local parade for 4th of July. And we had like 60,000 people at that parade. It's one of the biggest ones in the state. And the reception, I thought we were going to get stuff thrown at us. I mean, it's very Trump central. But no, like the amount of support we got and people like thumbs up or people going like, I'm voting you. You know, that it was great. Like I was shocked. We only had one heckler through 60,000 people. And we had people hitting us up afterwards, trying to join. It was really cool. So I ran out of time. I resigned after convention this past year. Actually, I stayed on board till about a month or two ago and resigned because the guy we had running for Congress here, he got sued off the ballot because our attorney general is I'm thinking of words I can say on a podcast here. He's crooked. We'll put it that way. Ken Paxton, our lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, is just an idiot. So you got crooked and idiot. And they sued and got us knocked off the ballot. And you had I can curse on here. Okay, well, yeah. My mother might be listening. So, it's one of those things where we've been sued 3 cycles in a row. We always win the court case, but they finally found a way to knock most our candidates off the ballot. Our candidate got knocked off, and he was motivating. He's mad about it, and I'm like, I'm mad for you. There was no write-in option because that cost money, so I couldn't even write in an option. So, hey, John Carter, I voted for the Democrat against you, fool. So, and I think other libertarians were doing that too. If they were knocked off the ballot, they just voted against the Republicans because they need to know that that's going to blow back on them. Mm-hmm. And I could have thrown up in my mouth to do that, but yeah, my ballot was all over the place. And but after wanting to throw up in my mouth, I felt good about my vote because I was like, you know what, I feel good about my little protest here. And I approached that candidate, Caleb Farrell, who also went to UMHB, same time I did. We were going to be on the lacrosse team that lasted for like a week. And so he's one of the first people I met.
A lacrosse player.
No, I didn't know a thing about lacrosse. I just heard there was going to be
loved it. But then I blew out my knee.
I hated it because a former Division II lineman from my hometown actually was charging at me with this giant stick, just beating everybody. And I'm like, we called him Buffalo. His nickname was Buffalo, and that just tells you right now he was huge. I'm like, I'm not taking a hit with a metal pole from Buffalo. We're getting run over. I'm done. So I wimped out. Plus, I was taking 17 hours at the time. And it was just I told him, I said, you need to be chairman. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. So thankfully, I finally had some. I didn't want to resign and screw the party over by just leaving it and not having anyone to take over. So we went through the process and got him on board. And so I'm still there to back him. I support the local party. I'll still be involved, whatever he needs. But I was very relieved not to be in that role anymore. And now I felt like more like I could say what I wanted to about the national problem within the party. And lo and behold, I think that's how you found me. I lashed out on Twitter one day or X, and man, my analytics spiked. Like what used to be the biggest spike in my analytics was now down like at the bottom, and then just this brand new. I forgot the percentage raise, but it was several 100% increase in my viewership. And I was like, man, I would have done that a long time ago.
Yeah, I have specific Twitter, or I'm still calling it Twitter. It's the same as it's still Fortnite. It Twitter. I have a couple different ones. I have my personal one, which I just stalk people on. I don't post on it, or I use it for like more so for games, like when you get coins to link it to a Twitter and stuff like that. So I use that one for that. Then I have my campaign one for my township supervisor campaign. That one's all nice and positive and informative and nice. Then I have my LNC at large one. That is one of my. That is my, here's the truth. It might, if it hurts, it hurts. Suck it up, buttercup, and move on. Like, you don't like it, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. Like, that's what that one's for.
I do want to answer a question real quick that's in the comments. And it was, Can we address the urgent need for the government to provide farm-raised pets for our immigrants? And the truth behind that, I'm going to spoil the surprise here. Those drones are about to start dropping cats over New Jersey. And so that's like a new delivery service that Amazon is providing us.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sick of seeing all of my comments in the Ring Neighbors app. Did you see the drones over this area?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, I don't care. I literally posted in it and said, I don't care about these stupid drones. Like,
I would if they were over Texas, but I'm kind of like, it's new. No offense to anyone from New Jersey, but it's New Jersey. I've spent a total of 4 minutes in New Jersey because when I drove into it just to see what it was like, I turned around and left.
And then had to pay a toll to come back to Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
You drive over a cool stadium, but that's about it. And
we have it even locally. It's free to go to Jersey, but a couple different of our bridges, like within like 5 to 10 minutes of my house to come back.
Yeah.
It's like $1. Like we charge the Jersey trash can stay in Jersey. I'm a native Pennsylvanian and I absolutely despise Jersey. Like,
imagine being a native Texan going into it.
That's why there's a river between Jersey and PA. Like, they can stay over there. The only thing they're good for, and it's not even that great, is the shore. Like, I'd rather go to Key West and stuff.
There are 3 great things that have come out of New Jersey. I could think of Sarah Ross, Eddie Trunk, and The Sopranos.
Even then. Like, I'll say some of the food's good because they got some people. It's only because they got New Yorkers that moved to Jersey because it's cheaper than New York. Like,
Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Watch someday I'll run for office. I'm going to lose New Jersey because of this.
He didn't stay. I have friends in Jersey. I'm fine. They know where I stand with Jersey.
Yeah. Well,
again.
Yeah. Like, so the whole thing, like, I use one Twitter. I used to have multiple ones because I was running our county party account. And I just, for several projects, I had my own business I ran for a while, and I was running that account. My buddy Tyler should be on this episode as much as I'm name dropping him. He and I had a podcast for a while called Purple Gold and Getting Old. It's for we would interview alumni from our university. And it's just funny. Like, in the past few years, I've been much more involved with Texas A&M than I have been with UMHB, but it seems like these projects are all centered around UMHB. But yeah, it's funny because I had all these different ones, and during that hiatus where I was like, I need to cut down on things I'm doing, help focus on mental health, be more focused in general. I finally whittled it down to one Twitter account or X account, and that's my go-to for both personal and business use. And it's been interesting. So, like, when I got out there and said I'm finally able to speak out on what Angela McArdle's been doing, I realized that most people tend to agree. And so for, I guess, anyone that sees this that I've sent it to that doesn't understand, in a nutshell, the chairwoman of the Libertarian Party thinks she's the queen, but she really more is like the White Witch from Narnia. I mean, anyone that even remotely disagrees with her, she lashes out at them, is very unprofessional. Pretty sure she used the C word the other day, and I forgot who she was referring to, but I think it had to do with the whole.
No, probably was me.
I think it might have been Karen Harlos, but
it's either me or her. Like, those are it's something. I'm
if
a
she
thorn in her
didn't,
side.
I would say if she didn't say that, then I apologize. But she has said plenty of other things that
she's implied a lot of stuff.
Absolutely, it's one of those I win, you lose things instead of being a leader and a chairperson. And she's, her big thing. She had a shared space on X the other night. Said, "Did I sell out my principles by supporting Trump?" Like, if you have to ask, yeah. And
don't get me started on the Twitter space, because I had one at the exact same time.
Oh yeah,
except mine was posted before hers, and hers was an hour before mine. Like,
Chase
Oliver, and sharing.
Chase Oliver got on there, and credit to Chase. He was very tactful about it. It was the most professional call out he could have gotten. People dog on him a lot without actually paying attention to his career. Like, he would not have been the nominee if he didn't send Georgia's Senate race into a runoff. Like, that was him, folks. It's not because that many people loved Warnock and Walker. It's just that was one race where he was a spoiler. And it was, I tell people, like, if they actually paid attention to his message, okay, he's gay, get over it. Like, whatever. You ever met a gay person before?
I don't know. Do you know that I was on his campaign?
Really?
I was part of his campaign.
Well, credit to y'all worked your butts off for like no credit from the people that were supposed to be helping you.
Yes, I was part of his campaign and stuff and did a lot. I did a lot in PA. I had him on my old podcast and stuff like that. I've had him out to PA a couple times for different things. I love Chase. Like I absolutely love him.
He's a cool dude.
And no, my Twitter space at the same time was on the state of the LNC. That's all it was. It was just a whole collective of everyone just talking about what they see happening with the LNC currently, where they see it going, what can we fix, what should we focus on, and everything else. And I was surprised with how mature and respectful and appropriate everyone was in the Twitter space. And it went on. It started at 8:00. I was getting over a cold and I was exhausted. So I like handed it off to my husband to handle. I think it was like almost 5 hours.
Wow.
This Twitter space went on for 5. It finished at 1:30 in the morning was when they finally are like, okay, we got to go to bed. We have to make money tomorrow. Like,
well, I left the McCardle one because A, I had some work I had to do, and B, I was just starting to get really aggravated. But the thing is, so Dave Smith was on there too, and Dave and Chase had a direct, like you were saying earlier, there's a difference between argument and discussion. They had a discussion. It was Dave. You know, a lot of people have wild opinions about him. I don't agree with him some of the time, but I would still love to meet the guy. I think people take his cocky confidence sometimes and be like, "What a jerk!" You know, I'm like, dude, he's a comedian. What do you expect? And there's a lot of things I do agree with him on, and so I'm that rare person that says it's okay to not agree with him all the time and also not hate him. Like he got on there, and even though I disagreed with what he was saying, he and Chase, they had a good exchange where it's like, I see where you're coming from. Here's why I disagree. And they were cool. Angela got on there and just went scorched earth on everyone. And I responded before leaving. I said, listen, I was like, Angela, Dave was at least respectful with his points. You need to act like a professional finally. And I left. Like, I was like, I'm going to get some comments for that. But no, it was actually, people were applauding it.
I'll say what I said in my Twitter space. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And it's worse when a snake who was already corrupt inherits it.
Yes. So I've only been, and I've said this before on other episodes, I've only been in the Libertarian Party officially for 2 years.
Yeah.
And look at where I'm at and how I'm doing things and how I'm building resources and connections and teams. And I have a lot of people. I've had discussions and people have asked me, like, can you run for VP? Can you run for this? Can you run for that? And I'm like, I would love to run for those positions. However, one, I haven't been in the party long enough. Or two, I haven't held a high enough position to qualify me for certain positions.
Yeah.
Or three, I'm not old enough.
Well, like for me, I've been asked those same things. I can't run for VP
of the United States because I would not, like, they wanted me to run and put in against like Clinton, stuff like that. I'm like, I would love to. However, I will not be 35 by January.
Yeah, I'm there, but like people have been asking me to run for, so not that high up, but like somebody actually asked me, can you challenge Angela in the next race? I'm like, yeah, if I win the lottery and don't have anything else going on, I've got the money. But
that's the other thing. I've had some of those discussions and stuff like that. They're like, so when are you going to do this? I'm like, when I can comfortably not live paycheck to paycheck. I have 3 children. And a husband on disability.
It's a compliment, though. I mean, if people will ask you, it just means that they like what you're doing. And for me, my thing is
doing something right.
If the day comes where I ever run for something and I'm representing the Libertarian Party, my thing is it's not going to look like the Libertarian Party. It's going to look like an actual political campaign. Like my thing is, and I love Whitney Billiou. I think she's great, but I will say this fairly about our last 2 chair people. when the State of the Union address is done and they give their rebuttal, I told somebody, it doesn't, like Angela's, it looked like a hostage video at a Motel 6. It was horrible. And I couldn't even focus on what she was saying because of just how crappy the production was. My background I've got right now that's webbing my fingers and is fake, that was better quality. And I'm thinking, okay, here's the other thing, and this is not rocket science. Wait until after the Republican rebuttal, then do a rebuttal of both and do it well-produced, and imagine how much publicity you could get from that.
Did you see the recap video for National Convention?
I would think I was mad enough that I avoided it. Because I had people who were there texting me, like live texting the things that were happening.
I was a delegate at National. Obviously, because I was originally on the Termot campaign.
Yeah. I wish people knew what all went on.
I came home with an empty bottle of chocolate peanut butter whiskey. The voting days I took one of the glasses from my hotel room and brought it down with me.
Conventions are lit. I will say that.
Was just sitting there sipping on chocolate peanut butter whiskey. And then I
just want to tell the audience, like at the Texas convention, it was all professionally done in parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules of Order, with everyone taking shots the whole time because of just how tense it could get. I mean, I was like, I've got to drive 4 hours. I can't do that, but I'm very impressed that everyone who's able to pull this off.
I was so done with convention before convention even started because I was an LNC appointed credentialing committee member.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of people from the LNC like trying to bully me into decisions in these credentialing meetings. One of our credentialing meetings, here's the video for the recap. Oh boy. This is my tech team for you.
I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those moments that determine the shape of everything that's to come after. And now, America must choose.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. This campaign is a fight for the future.
Dick Cheney will be voting for Kamala Harris.
What is your goal in 2024? Now the question is, how do you get it done? I believe the future of this country depends on a libertarian nationalist alliance.
Who's going to be the president? It's either going to be the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee. I mean, I'm being honest here.
I mean, guys, he's kind of right about that one.
Tens of millions of Americans are waking up to the fact that they were lied to the fact that they were manipulated, that they were gaslit. Democratic and Republican administrations have taken turns assaulting our constitutional rights. I'm going to do what President Trump should have done. I hope that he has the courage to stand up there to make sure that these assaults on our Constitution never, ever happen again.
Bobby, you son of a bitch. I have come to extend a hand of friendship to ask for your partnership to defeat communism, defeat Marxism, and defeat the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the government security and surveillance. They want to get rid of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, due process, the right to a fair trial. We want government out of our business, out of our wallets, and out of our lives. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. Together we can make America freer than ever before.
They promised to defend the Constitution. When? They also talk about limited government. They talk about ending the wars. They talk about bringing our troops home. When? It's not happening. So the reason the Libertarian Party is as viable as it is, the reason that Donald Trump and yourself and even RFK are here this weekend is because the election margins are so thin that you guys need us. But there is a tremendous amount of animosity between myself and the GOP, who has ran around talking as if they're Ron Paul and then governing as if they're John McCain.
And if you watch the GOP debates, you would know we agree.
We do not exist to cloister ourselves away from other political candidates or ideas. We're supposed to strike at the root and to challenge the cult of the omnipotent state. And that's what we're doing at the Tree Lake Book. So instead of halftime, I'm going to do it again tonight.
That is why I'm committing to you tonight that I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
We are the most powerful voting bloc in the country. I can't stress how incredible that is.
The empire has ended. That's good news for us.
The Israeli government has extorted billions of dollars from American taxpayers. It is being used to murder people. That has got to stop.
Any government that takes our money to kill other people overseas is not an ally to the American people because it's exporting our values.
We must end all funding and all arms to Ukraine and all the elite plans to destroy freedom.
That puts a greater burden of responsibility on us
because you have influence, and that's why you do it. We move the needle, we move the oaks window in the direction of liberty.
We are the only ones who understand what the founders knew over 200 years ago. The problem with the government is the government.
So.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. But I would say that the thing that bothers me the most is what I wish there was a video of. And it's interesting how, Andy, your profile picture looks like it was 1995. Come on, man. No, it's shout out. He's actually a character in the book we were talking about earlier. I've known him for many years. The thing that I wish had more publicity was the shady stuff that went on. Like when you have Secret Service show up 8 hours before Trump speaks and you don't tell the delegation they're going to get locked at lunch break when they're voting on the next chairperson and stuff like that. Like people being locked out who can't get in, they're texting me and I know it's a picture of me. I'm beautiful. But yeah, that really frustrated me and that's putting it lightly. Like that was the shadiest thing, like trying to inhibit votes.
It was horrible. Some of the stuff, but like that video, how much we had some really great speakers and speeches from candidates, and how much of that video, I don't even know how long it was off the top of my head, but like I would say maybe 30 seconds of it, if that, was actually libertarians speaking.
Yeah, and here's the other problem with that was, among many problems, my thing was just how it gets under my skin to no end. Reverting back to what we talked about like an hour ago, part of the reason that book was written is because some shady stuff happened when I was running for just like a student election at a D3 college. And then so because of that, as I got older, I did everything I could when working for universities to prevent that from ever happening to students. In fact, when I worked for Blinn College in Bryan, Texas, the student government election was not electronic. We had a box with a lock on it. The police, my boss, and me, we all had a key, and it stayed in a window in the student center where everyone could see it, and a security camera was on it. And so I actually told the police, I want you to verify by video that nothing happens to this box. Everything will be done by paper, and there will be no tampering. And we counted it in front of the window and did it like Survivor. We showed the votes in the window. There was no questioning the validity of it at all. And we had it to where you had to put your student ID on there. You couldn't duplicate votes and all that. So I part of my success has come from making sure nobody gets screwed over by people bending and breaking the rules. And this whole rules for thee, not for me thing that Angela's been doing is just, it's bad. So for me, like that really stuck out selling us out to another party. But in hindsight, looking at how much was probably already orchestrated, Angela did not make this deal for Ross first to Trump. Thomas Massey did. And he did it a long time ago. If Trump frees Ross, it's not because Angela asked him to. He just wanted the libertarian vote. And at the same time, I think the funniest thing in the world would be if Biden freed him on his way out of office, just to flip the middle finger to Trump and Angela.
Because it was such a thing that Trump has built this whole like support from the libertarians on and everything, like literally like out the door, like here, I'm leaving. Goodbye. Here's my thing.
Tyler and Andy and anyone, y'all want to see me go scorched earth for a second? Here's my thing on this. Other than being a serial rule breaker and a freaking traitor with your position, not you, Brittany, Angela, I would directly say to Angela right now, if you are so hell-bent on making sure that this is a wagon for liberty, start a PAC, do a nonprofit, or join the GOP if you think that's the wagon to do it. But stop hijacking what used to be the biggest, fastest growing third party in America. We lost to Jill Stein, who has been running since the dinosaurs walked on Earth, and I don't even think she could win a county council meeting. And you screwed your own opponent out of what could have been another great run. You were no help at all to the Liberty Movement. Our finances have tanked. Our funds are down. Membership is dropping rapidly. That's on leadership, which is a concept you do not have, and you need to resign.
I couldn't agree more. I have so many people they're like, I would love to register as a libertarian, but I just can't because of your chair. I had a donor, a large donor, who doesn't even live in my district, but she loves what I stand for, what I do, how I speak, and everything. She loves everything I do. And she's such a big supporter. She was a huge supporter when I ran for state rep. She was a huge supporter of me. She signed up for the LNC email list because it's public. And she came to me and she said, who is this Mr. Malagon person? Because he's not very professional.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure if I can continue to support you when you have people like that in high up positions in this party.
Jeremiah Harding's podcast, we talked about him, and we both agree that Malagon sounds like an awesome villain name. So maybe he's earned it. It just sounds like, I don't know, like a Godzilla character. Yeah, well, I don't know. There's just not a, yeah, see, that's one of the, yeah, I saw that exact post earlier on, and that's, yeah. Massey is the only DC Republican I trust.
I love Massey.
Sometimes Rand Paul, but yeah,
I love
he's not his father.
No.
But I would also like to say this to libertarians too. Quit writing in Ron Paul and quit acting like anyone who's not Ron Paul is not worthy of being in office. It's never going to happen. Like, he's not Jesus Christ, okay? He might be the best guy we've ever had involved in politics, but he's old and he's great and just there's newer and younger activists and politicians that are working their way up to being that. And I have so many people that I try to convince, or I have to do so much damage control at a that's everybody right now
and local level because of national.
I did too.
And I think that's part of why I'm running for LNC at large, is to try and be in that area and in the trenches.
Yep.
To try and help change from the inside out.
Yeah.
And show people that there's still people out there at that level that have the liberty movement in mind and have this philosophy and understand what it means to be a libertarian.
Right.
Big L.
And tell people also, the other thing I would tell people to quit doing in the Libertarian Party is, if somebody else is not as libertarian as you on something, that doesn't make them not libertarian. stop doing that. And my other thing is like, okay, unless you are an absolute anarchist, there will always be somebody more libertarian than you in some way. Like,
and even then, I still there's probably someone that's a little different. And
extreme right is fascism, the extreme left is communism. The extreme libertarianism would be anarchy if you went like way, all the way out. So like, there's always going to be somebody not quite on the same wavelength as yours. And I told some friends the other day, I said, all right, when I'm governor of Texas or dictator of the world or whatever, because I'd love to be the first libertarian dictator where it's like, I can veto anything I want, but the rest of you do what you want, kind of a thing. My
say, but you can listen if you're not. I really don't care.
Like Liechtenstein. My least libertarian view is this. If I were in charge of everything, I would ban companies from making job applicants write out their entire job history right after they've uploaded their freaking resume. That is my least libertarian view. I would say, okay, it is hurting the economy to make the job applying process take this long, and it's stupid.
It so is. And let's not do the 5 interviews. The 3 phone interviews, the in-person, and then another phone interview with the same people.
Yeah, if it's different people, I can kind of get it in some places. Like, there's been some good ones I've had that they're that way. But I think there was one job I had where it was, I think, 5 rounds. But the last 2 was because I couldn't get everybody together on a Zoom call. So I had to basically do the same interview twice. But
that's
turned out
different.
great.
But yeah. I'm currently like, I have like, so before the show, we were talking, I'm a per diem ER nurse. Yeah. So that is like my little like hobby at this point, is being a bedside nurse. Mm-hmm. I'm currently a triage nurse for a OBGYN. So I get to deal with women all day. So much estrogen. It's great. So I deal with that, but I'm like, I'm still out there, and I still look for jobs because there's always, again, I'm in the theory of the grass is always greener and I can always use more money.
Yeah. My theory on that.
For more money, less work, and I can work from home. That is my ultimate goal.
My thing is, I have a master's in human resources. When people ask me what I learned with that, I said that I would never work in human resources. But I needed a broad scope master's. And one thing I would do with HR departments is I would have what's called the T committee, where you find the 3 most gossipy people, at your school, put them on the committee, and instead of having to fill out on your application, why did you leave this position? I would just have it where you sit in an interview with it'd be like The View, but actually functional. And they hold their teacup and just be like, so tell us, why'd you leave? And just kind of give us the dirt on everybody. Make it
Why
juicy.
do you like that job anymore?
Yeah.
Why do you want to come here?
I won't say which one, but I've had a past job where when it says, why did you leave? I just wanted to put Santa's naughty list on there of people and just be like, because it was the most toxic, dysfunctional, backwards place I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm pretty sure one person I dealt with was demon possessed. Not kidding. I want it out.
There's jobs I could, and I luck out that I get to be able to do this on my resume a lot of times. Mm-hmm. I have maintained my employment with the ER and had other jobs because I've been per diem with them for 5.5 out of the 7 years I've been there.
Yeah.
So I've had other full-time jobs that I got fired from or left within a month or 2 of being there because I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. That I'm I technically don't have to put that on my resume because I don't need the experience from it because I have another job listed. I don't have a lapse in my employment.
I haven't been fired yet.
Well,
there's still time.
It's I had one. It was a tele-nurse position, and I did them a favor. I used to be on the inbound team where I would get the calls in from whatever. And then I went and they needed more staff because they were building the outbound team for a specific medication. And so I'm they're can you go over to them? It'd only be this and that and stuff. I'm sure. I hemmed and hawed on it for a little bit. And I said, fine, I'll do it. I'll help you out. I went over and I was doing okay and I was doing great. One, we live in Pennsylvania and the call center's out of Pennsylvania. So East Coast time. I was given California and Hawaii.
Wow.
To cold call.
From Pennsylvania?
From Pennsylvania. And I was not allowed to work night shift.
Are these the same people that arranged the the Big Ten conference from the old Pac-12 schools?
I would say that these are dumber than them.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And then they wondered why I wasn't getting my call numbers and wrote me up and basically fired me because I wasn't getting the call numbers. And they wrote me up at one time saying I wasn't getting my call numbers. And I said, well, can you give me a number? Because I don't have a set number right now. I don't have a minimum benchmark. They're like, well, it depends on how many hours you're working. And I'm like, no, give me a number. They would never give me a number so that they could write me up again and terminate me for it. And I could have gone after them because I told them I was pregnant. Yeah, I told them I was pregnant a month or two before. And then I got 2 write-ups and a termination like a month and a half later.
Wow.
I'm like, I really could have gone after you for this, but I said it's not even worth my headache. I'm just going to do whatever.
Here's all I would say on this whole thing is, remember, kids, no one can prove you didn't work at Radio Shack or Circuit City in 1998.
Just make sure that you were old enough to work at Radio Shack or Circuit City in 1998.
Oh, I aged myself. Hey, there's still a Blockbuster open in Bend, Oregon. I want to go.
I could make, let's see, what could I cover? I could maybe cover Pizza Hut in the area. I could do Pizza Hut. I could do, no, Best Buy's still around. Barely, but Best Buy's still around.
Circuit City, Toys R Us, Blockbuster.
Toys R Us I could cover. Toys R Us I could, but they are back again.
Yeah, I noticed.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. There's a couple that have recently closed that I could use, but it's.
Oh, and the Libertarian Party, that was the other one we were thinking of.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, because no one's going to verify it.
No kidding.
So.
After running my mouth, I'm like, I hope that didn't go viral.
Do you want me to show one of your music videos or anything?
Let's
or do you want me to just link it? You want to share it? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Every Monday morning, that same alarm clock sounds, taking down the first pot of coffee before we go another round, where we take it all week on the chin with a grin, working hard, barely getting paid, till the final whistle blows on Friday, and you know we're gonna race some cane out at the bonfire. That's the barbed wire. We get loud on the homemade shine, party all night till the daylight, blow some horns up and right for just some good old boys in work boots, girls with brown and hoodies and Daisy Dukes. It's Friday and you know where we're at. It's a party out back. I don't care if you drive a Ford or you drive a Chevy, 'cause you're gonna get mud on both while we blast that ragweed loud and heavy. Gonna skinny dip it in the stock tank, we're gonna wrestle in the mud. So grab the shiner and the jack, bring them out back, call the girls and bring your buds out to the bonfire. That's the barbed wire. We get loud on the homemade shine, party all night till the daylight, blow some hogs up and right for just some good old boys in work boots, girls in browning hoodies and Daisy Dukes. It's Friday and you know where we're at. It's a party out back. Just keep your hands off the ladies and don't start up any fights. Just come on out and have a good time till the dawn's early light. Out at the bonfire, that's the barbed wire. We get loud on the homemade shine. Party all night till the daylight. Blow some hearts up at Tannerite for just some good old boys in work boots. Girls in browning hoodies and Daisy Dukes. It's Friday and you know where we're at. It's a party out back.
Yeah, I'd like to say nobody was hurt in the filming of that or got in trouble, but both would be lies. So
That looks like a typical Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it was fun.
About. So
I would love to perform at convention, but like that's something I would love to do for Libertarian Party. I want to put on a show at convention.
I will petition for that. You up for Grand Rapids?
Yes.
Okay, let's start now.
I would do it.
I am going to start the campaign to get Garrett to play at Grand Rapids.
Heck yeah.
As I say it, so it be. Okay.
Do I have to be a Republican to attend the Libertarian convention and be on stage?
If I get my way, no.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely not. You have to be yellow.
There you go.
Not red, not blue. So I guess we're gonna wrap up because we're like way over my normal time.
Sounds good.
So I'm gonna close with something important to me and pretty much almost every libertarian here in the US and outside. We are seeing more stories of government overreach.
Sorry, I hate to cut in. If there's anybody that wants to message me on any of these topics, I was just gonna throw out real quick at Garrett Smith TX for Texas. At Garrett Smith Texas.
Garrett, yep. Okay, let's see. I will also share those with when I post all of this. I will put them in the comments or in the description and stuff.
Thank you so much. And the book is on Amazon for Kindle and also on Patreon. There's no print version, but it is on those two sites right now. And so
on Kindle Unlimited.
I think so. And yeah, I just also wanted to throw in thank you for having me. It was fun.
Of course. I have Kindle Unlimited, so
cool.
I'll add it to my list.
Sounds good.
There we go. I got your thing up there. So we're gonna go and wrap up. We've got seeing more and more stories of government overreach that are violating individual liberties. Especially like the case of Ross Ulbricht, calling on President Joe Biden to pardon Ross and undo this justice. Get there before Trump does. Ross's case is a reminder why we fight for freedom. Garrett, thank you so much for coming on tonight and dealing with my extra almost 40 minutes of chit chat here.
No problem.
I want to thank everyone for tuning into Unscripted Liberty. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and support the fight for liberty. Till next time, stay free.
A man who did the unspoken. He looked for freedom from the violence. No one is perfect when there's new ground broken. A mess is made and someone gets blamed. He had a dream of harmony as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. This ain't the movies, there's There's a war in the streets, the innocent are in jail. We pray for justice and we wanna be free, and hope the truth will prevail. He had a dream of harmony, as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We still have hope, we cannot quit. Don't be afraid. We have a voice and this is it. Let the light show the way. We had a dream of harmony, as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road.
On day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.